Hi and welcome. Today I want to talk about one of the most brutal chord changes ever if you're a beginner, okay? As you probably know, I teach beginners a lot, okay? I teach intermediate players as well, but most beginners struggle with this one chord change more than anything. So what is the chord change? Can you guess it, okay? It probably one you've played many times, okay? And it's a D diminished seventh chord to a flat 9 major, blah blah blah. I'm only joking, okay? It's a C to a D chord, okay? If you've struggled to play a C to D and you still struggle with it now, or you struggle with other basic chord changes, keep watching this video because I'm going to share some really good pearls of wisdom that is going to really help you, okay? So if you can't do this yet, or anything like that, then you're going to want to keep watching, okay? So the first thing we want to talk about is why are we doing this? Well, Brian emailed me the other day and he said this: Dan, I'm having a struggle moving from the D to C chord. Could you please give me advice on any way to conquer this? I've been practicing it and it just doesn't seem to be coming together. Thanks once again, Dan, for all your help to date. Regards, Brian. Okay. Brian talks about going from the D to C, but you've got to get good at going from the C to D. Okay, so what do you do first of all? Well, first of all, you've got to isolate it, okay? A lot of people just practice chord changes willy-nilly. They'll just try loads of different chord changes. But I say to students, if you want to get really good laser focus, just pick a pair of chord changes. That's what we're going to do here. So you got the C to D. But in practical terms, what do you do to get good at it? Well, first of all, you want to make sure you're using good technique. You want to avoid using the death grip. So many people press too hard, okay? And that has a knock-on effect. If I'm squeezing the life out of a chord to try and get it to sound clear, like that, and I'm really battling, then I've got to relax all my fingers before I can take them off and move them. And then my fingers are probably going to be full of tension as well. So what a lot of people do, they press too hard, they're full of tension, and then they try and move the fingers and they're like rigid tension and everything's just moving. It's horrible. So first of all, make sure you can play the chord in a really relaxed way. Okay, it's really fundamental stuff, but not many people I see ever seem to teach it. Okay, so play the C chord. Okay, and just make sure you do it one finger at a time. And just keep adding and removing the pressure until it's nice and relaxed. And the chord is just gentle and relaxed, okay? Ask yourself, is the tension there in my arm at the back, particularly at the tricep at the back? A lot of people have tension there. Is my thumb muscle aching there? If these things are happening, then you need to learn how to use minimum pressure required, as I call it, okay? Which I'll talk about elsewhere. But the one thing I want to do as well is talk about the stretch, because a lot of people struggle to make that stretch of a C chord. So what I do with them, I get them to play the C with a capo on at fret 5, where they don't have to stretch as much. When you don't have to stretch as much, you can be a little bit more relaxed, okay? So that can promote good technique. So if you're struggling with the stretch of a C chord, try putting the capo on at fret 5, okay? And then same with the D as well. You might find it's a little bit tight there, so you might want to put the capo on at like fret 3 or fret 2 or whatever. But I'm not going to put the capo on now because I know some people don't have a capo. So, but that's a really good little way of helping the initial sort of fundamental, foundational stages, okay? So we've got the C chord. Let's talk now about the actual chord change, okay? Because I know you're probably dying for me to do that, okay? But I'm going to tell you some magic, okay? It's like, you know, Jack and the Beanstalk, how he buys those magic beans. This little bit of advice is going to be very much like that. I'm joking, of course, because there is no magic advice, and that's the key thing, you know what I mean? It's really frustrating. And out there, you know, the guitar world, everybody's selling hacks and tricks and stuff like that, but the fundamentals of what it's all about, it will always be about the fundamentals. Hacks and tricks might work for just like a one-off little thing, but they won't work for everything. You know, there's a reason why we need to master the C to D chord, because it gets used in a lot of songs, okay? So the one thing I want to talk about is the magic number 5000. This is a magical number, by the way. It's an arbitrary number, it's not exact, but I always say to students, if you want to get good at a chord change, you're probably going to have to practice it 5,000 times with good technique, because that's what's going to help build the muscle memory. And you might think, oh my God, Dan, that's so many, 5,000. But, you know, at first you think it is a bit, but you just break it down. If you do it for a minute every day, and you do 10, that's 10. And then you do that for 10 minutes, that's 100 in a day. You know, you've just done 100 a day, so you could easily do 700 a week, okay? And then in a month you've got like 2,800. So in a couple of months you can get to that 5,000 number, and you don't have to do this as your only thing that you practice. Just a minute here and there, you know, throwing it in, a lot of focus, and you really will master this chord change. Okay, but let's talk about how to actually do the change, because what you want to do is strum the C, take your fingers off and land them all at the same time. really difficult for a lot of people to do, because the fingers will move around like this, like they've got a mind of their own, okay? So if you can't do that, if you can't lift it, change to the chord, then you just haven't built up the muscle memory, and that's perfectly fine. That's why we're going to do this. But let's promote muscle memory, good positive muscle memory. One way to do that is take all the fingers off, play the C chord in the air. Are you able to do that? That looks like a C chord, and that looks like a D chord. If you can't do that in the air, it's okay. It's actually really difficult to do, because you haven't got nothing to push off, and your fingers again will just want to move to their most comfortable position, and that isn't the C chord. It's not the D chord, okay? So you could even get your other hand and just line those fingers up and try and build up a little bit of muscle memory in the air, just trying to get that sort of shape. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to be able to see the shape, and just get the other hand and just line them up a little bit, okay? That's a little way to sort of test where you're at with the muscle memory as well. So you got the C. When you change to the D, you try and move all the fingers and land them all at once. What I get students to do as well is hover the fingers above the D chord, okay? Try the best to make the shape. Get the other hand, maneuver the fingers a little bit if you need to, and then when they're in position, put them down. Okay, that there takes a bit of time, but again, it's a muscle memory builder, because what a lot of people will do, they'll take the fingers off, they'll put one finger on, put another finger on, put another finger on, and before you know it, it's about 10 minutes have passed before all the fingers are on, and then there's a massive break in the song, and it sounds like this. If that ever sounds like you, then you just need to stop playing the song for a little bit. It's perfectly fine too, because we need to build the muscle memory. Okay, so you could just try hovering, and you've just got to try and build that positive muscle memory. It's not easy at all. Okay, I talk about this in my a lot more. There's a lot more details, a lot more depth I talk about in my chord changing mini course. Okay, it's part of the Dan Thorpe Acoustic Academy, which you can go to fingerstyle101.com/academy. There's something called the fake pivot, which is a really good little secret sort of technique that will help build the muscle memory. Just a little outline of what that is. Basically, play the C chord. When you go to the D, take your index finger off, move your index finger first, put it on second fret of the G string. Okay, now that gives you a pivot point, because that's where the finger's going to go for the D chord, that second fret G, and then you lift off the other fingers and put them down. Okay, and when you go back to the C chord, you could move the index back to where it was, first fret of the B string for the C chord, and move the other fingers. And you're creating a little fake pivot point. And what this does, it helps give you something to anchor off to build a bit of positive muscle memory. Eventually, you'll be able to do it like this. And then after a while, the movement will be so fast that it's hardly noticeable that you're staggering it slightly. And that's just a really good little way of getting good at the chord change, rather than just trying to do this and then this. Okay, it's a methodical way of doing it. So I hope that was helpful. There's a lot more to chord changes and all that. That's just a little bit of an outline, but I wanted to give you that today because my student Brian was struggling with it, and he's fairly new to these lessons on chord changes. But this is a little lesson that I thought I'd share with the world, not just as part of the academy. So remember, chord changes take a lot of patience. Okay, a lot of good technique, a lot of repetition, a lot of focus, and a lot of determination, because they are the main reason why a lot of people do quit the guitar and find it frustrating. But if you can nail the C to D chord change, which is one of the toughest, you'll be well away. I promise you that. Remember to use the capo if you need to. All this sort of stuff applies with the capo. And the good thing is as well, if you struggle to stretch, you can put the capo on at 5. Practice those techniques I just talked about, and then try after a few days with the capo on at fret 4, which will mean you've just got to stretch that a little bit more. And that will just push you a little bit, and eventually you move the capo down, and then you don't need the capo at all, and you'll be playing the chord changes really, really well. I've got faith you can do. Everybody gets there in the end. There's just 3 different options with chord changes. You can let them frustrate you and quit the guitar. You can keep doing them the slow, ponderous way, which is what most people do. After about 5 years or something, they eventually get pretty good. Or you can practice them with real dedicated focus. And we've only just covered the tip of the iceberg on that sort of focus. Like I say, if you want more from me on this, go to fingerstyle101.com/academy. There's loads more technical stuff I teach, but a lot of fun stuff, a lot of musical stuff, a lot of enjoyable stuff. And that's what it's all about. Making you the best guitarist you can be and having a lot of fun on the journey. Because you know what? We all just want to have fun, and that's the main thing. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it was helpful. Leave a comment below, let us know what you think. and check out this video if you want more. Cheers, bye bye.